Good morning, everybody. Lovely to have you here. We are live today with Sandra Cloostermans. Good morning, Tony. Lovely to see you. We've got Marie joining us as well. And we've got a few other people that are scheduled to join us. And we're also streaming live into my Facebook group. And I just need a quick second to make sure that I have everything in place so that we can get started. So, fantastic to have you all here. The topic of sex and intimacy today, and it seems to have really hit a chord with people recently. I've been talking a lot about this on my Facebook group and on Instagram and my emails and all the people that I'm talking to. And it just seems to really hit a chord with people, especially when women start to hit their hormonal changes at around the late 30s and early 40s. And I think it's a really important topic for us to talk about because, you know, most importantly, sex and intimacy is kind of the things that differentiate often a couple that are in a committed relationship to friends or siblings. And so it's an important topic. That doesn't mean that there are couples that can't have sex and intimacy, that can decide that sex in particular is not important for them in their relationship, because there are some people for whom that's the case. But kind of more often than not, what I find is that there are people when they say they don't want it, there's still some guilt, some shame about it. There's silence about the whole experience, or that one or the other has an issue with the fact that sex and intimacy is missing in their relationship. And so, and really, we don't really learn about it anywhere. I mean, I remember my mum telling me that when she was getting married to my father back in 1960, her mother said something to her like, there's going to be something your husband, my dad, will want from you and you won't enjoy it. And it's sometimes painful, but it's your duty as your wife to give it to him. So you can imagine how easy it was for my parents to have a really fulfilling sex life and something that they really, you know, tried to do some research on for themselves and find ways to improve their sexual relationship over the years. But it was a real challenge for them. And really, you know, what do we learn? Who do we learn from? You know, parents don't talk about, we don't talk about it amongst ourselves as couples quite often, let alone talk to our children about it. We're not taught about it in schools. And if you go online to look up about it, you probably start getting, you know, messages from porn sites all the time, because really sex is, you know, considered, that's what we get. And so it's still considered something that we can't talk about. It's really private. And in my work as a relationship and intimacy coach, it tends to be the thing that eventually comes up. And if it's not addressed, it can really spell the end of a relationship for what could have potentially been a wonderful one. So I think that we've confused sex and intimacy, and I think we've got a very limited view of what sex is. And I am so excited to have Sandra Cloostermans here today, because I know that this is something that she's super passionate about, that she loves to talk about, and to start really shifting the culture around sex and intimacy and have dialogues about it and expand our experience and our understanding of sex and intimacy. So I know that Sandra's passion as a tantric massage and gestalt therapist is really about teaching people about creating intimacy in their relationship through tantric energy exchange, and to really define what sex and intimacy can look like. So Sandra, I want to really welcome you today. Thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor and a privilege to have you be here with us to share your knowledge, experience and wisdom. And
thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I always when I watch other people interviewing, I always notice that, you know, we do this big welcome and then they forget to let the other person have a chance to say thanks for letting me be here, or thanks for, you know, whatever you want to say. So welcome,
I
Sandra.
am thankful, though. I am very thankful, Sharlene, for doing this. And I also have to say especially thankful because I appreciate you a lot, because I think you are a fantastic not only friend, but also a very good relationship therapist. And I think the fact that you give attention to this as well, to the sex and intimacy aspect, is fantastic. And I think that's why we can work together so well.
Most definitely. Thanks, Sandra. That's really beautiful. Well, I'd love for you to get started with sharing about how you became a tantric massage therapist and your kind of journey with that, because you met your partner through studying this, right?
I did.
Who's here with us today, I believe.
Yes.
Supportive.
I did. I met Tony in a tantra course. Yeah. It was our first contact for either of us, for both of us, it was our first tantra course. And we both liked it so much that we decided to go on studying, And in the meantime, we have done so many courses and we've enjoyed them very much. And but for me, it was actually when I got in contact with the tantric massage that I realized that I had finally found my calling. I had done many things before, but for me, starting to touch people was what made the click, because I had always been a person who loved touching. Actually, it was one of the reasons why I came to live in Spain, because people touched each other in Spain. In Belgium, northern countries, it's not that common, but that's what I loved about Spain, and that's one of the reasons I came here. And also, for example, when I was a child, I was like the masseuse of the house. My mother wanted her back rubbed or her feet massaged, and my dad loved hand massages, and so I did all of that. And also with friends, the typical, oh, if you tickle my arm, I'll tickle yours. And it was so important for me. Touch has always been so important to me. And so I really went like, wow, how didn't I realize that before, that this is something that I love doing. And I suppose that's because I had to have all the journey before that. I had a journey of personal growth before I ended up in Tantra. I studied Gestalt therapy, amongst others. And that is also what helped me what helps me to deal with the emotional aspect of the massages. Very often during the massage, not only tension is released, but also all traumas can come to the surface, or painful memories. And because of my background, it's easy for me to accompany these processes.
Yeah. And you do that so beautifully, because I know I've had the privilege of one of your massages and to be at the end of your fingers just because they were itchy to massage something, and you massaged my back. And I know that your ability to handle that emotional aspect is so powerful. And I felt that so strongly when we had that massage, and the moment that you spend afterwards just kind of holding the space for that was really beautiful. It's something that you're incredibly good at, for sure. So I wonder, could you tell us, Sandra, just kind of what is Tantra exactly? Because lots of people correlate Tantra with sex, but that's not kind of the full story, right?
Well, it's true. I mean, the general idea, only look in Google, like Tantra, Tantric massage, what you get is erotic massages. It's like almost pornography and stuff. So I know that Tantra is related, or is, let's say, the idea exists that Tantra is all about sex, but this is not true. Tantra just does not exclude any aspect of life. So of course it includes sex as well. Whereas, in other currents, sex is often like put aside, that's something not talked about, or it's bad, or it's dirty, or Tantra just says, okay, sex is a part of life, so let's include it. Yeah. So Tantra is actually a series of techniques and practices that aim at living a life in fulfillment. And the way to achieve this fulfillment is, like, on the one hand, by expanding our consciousness, feeling one with the other person, feeling one with the universe. And on the other hand, it's by living in freedom, spontaneity, authenticity. Yeah. And so sex in Tantra, or working with sexual energy, is not done for its own sake. It's not pure entertainment. It's actually an instrument that we use to go beyond sex, to reach health, balance, better relationships, and in the end, to reach a higher state of consciousness. Yeah. Tantric sex is about, tantric massage is about this, like about being present in the moment, being totally connected with yourself, own body, and with your partner's body.
I love that, Sandra, because, you know, that's really the thing that's often missing in relationships in general. Often we get stuck in our own kind of what we want, or what we're not getting, and we forget to be really present. And even when we're arguing, we're arguing from a part of our brain that's not present in the moment. We're not listening to each other. And I love that Tantra is about that, because it makes a lot of sense to me, that kind of, because I've been doing a lot of that with meditating, that I've really taken up over the last year very regularly, and the difference to be able to just be present in the moment, instead of off with the lizard brain, or the or all the things that we get stuck in, has been really helpful. So it's beautiful. So I wonder, could you tell us a little bit more about the work, what you actually do, and perhaps include a little bit about the difference between, say, tantric massage and other types of massage?
Exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I'm a tantric massage therapist, and I give massages to both men and women. And what I also do is I teach couples to a couple of massage techniques in order for them to enrich their sex life.
Nice.
And to answer your other question, what for me is the difference between a tantric massage and any other type of massage is the fact that genitals are included. Although not always, but usually, yeah, because it doesn't make, if genitals are not included, it doesn't mean that it's not a tantric massage. Yeah, that's also something that's often misunderstood. Tantric massage is an energetic massage that uses sexual energy, which is nothing more than vital energy, to vitalize the body, to unblock stuck emotions, or even, as I said before, liberates traumas or painful memories. Yeah. And it really has a therapeutic and a healing function. Yeah. And apart from that, it's also like very pleasurable. You can just not have any sexual problems, not have any issues to attack, but just go and have a tantric massage for the fun of it. It's really it's very pleasurable. It's like being bathed in love. It's and
I do know.
For who this isn't good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is why it's so useful as well for couples to learn some of these techniques, to be able to do that to each other. Because, if you are able to bathe your partner in love, wow, it gives me goose pimples just to think about it. It's so important, and we often forget about this aspect when the relationship goes on for years.
Absolutely. And I know, often because of this kind of confusion about, Tantra being about sex, it's really interesting when I talk to people about the fact that I had a tantric massage for you, for example, and people go straight to, is it, do you touch? Well, it's so weird. It's like we have this association that, oh my God, my sexual bit's like, and I know, it was I love the way that you always give that option, and knowing that the tantric massage is not just about touching your genital area is helpful for people if that's, and I love how sensitive you are to that. But I really, what you're talking about, that being bathed in love, my God, that was such an experience that I had having my massage with you, and the explosion of energy that I had at one stage. I felt this massive rush explode out the top of my head. It was such an incredible experience. So yeah, I can certainly relate to that. And you know, this thing about this, like, oh, is it about touching the genital, you know, my vagina or my vulva or whatever? You have your own thing to say about that. I know about what we call our female parts anyway. But you know, we both, you and I both agree very much about the importance of starting to talk about sex and intimacy as something that's not a private taboo subject. You know, it's the same thing that we've had around menopause too, right? That, you know, we don't talk about it, and often somebody else has something that could actually contribute to the challenges that we're having, but we're so, you know, stuck with not talking about this stuff. And I know that you're super passionate about not making things private and taboo. And I think it's super important for all of us to start, you know, releasing ourselves from the taboos of the past around that. Can you talk a little bit about how you see sex and intimacy in a relationship, Sandra, too? And how do you teach couples and individuals to bring more of that into their relationships?
In my opinion, what causes many relationships to fail is the idea that if we really love each other in bed, things should flow easily, and it should all be easy, you know. And I don't think that's true. I mean, in the same way that we need to communicate about who does the washing up and who does the chores in the house, you know, and how shall we reorganize our lives now that we have a baby, or now that the children have left, you know. So that same way we need to talk about what is happening to us in bed, you know, because relationships change. And so where there was passion before, maybe there isn't that much passion anymore. So we need to be able to talk about that and like reorganize ourselves in that sense, you know, have the courage to express what we feel, the courage to listen also to the other person expressing, you know. It's so easy to get into, oh shit, she or he is criticizing me, you know. Just open up. Like a friend told me yesterday, she said that her relationship therapist had told them to relate to each other from the heart, to talk to each other and listen to each other from the heart. And I think that's it. Not so much like, oh, what is she accusing me of? But like, what is she expressing, or what is he wanting to say? You know, what is the hurt behind it?
Yeah, that's so powerful, Sandra. Yeah, most definitely.
But then, yeah, when at the moment that people come to me, usually they have had this courage, you know, they have had the courage to communicate and say there's something wrong, we need to look for help. Yeah. So they have already taken this first step of realizing there's something wrong and wanting to change it, you know. And a common issue that I see is there are many issues, of course, and as you know, there are many emotional issues that need to be addressed with for example, a relationship coach like yourself. But if it's actually a loss of appetite, sometimes it can like to understand why we feel attracted to certain people and not to others, or why on certain days we feel attracted to our partner and on other days we feel sometimes even disgust. we have to really understand how sexual polarity works. Yeah, because attraction can be lost because of that. Like electricity and magnetism, you know, sexual polarity is also a natural energy that requires two poles. Yeah, for electrical energy to flow, you need a positive pole and you need a negative pole. Yeah, and if they're connected, there's electricity. Yeah, the same goes for sexual energy. You need a masculine and a feminine pole. And this doesn't mean that you need a man and a woman. You just need two people, one person connected to his masculine energy or her masculine energy, and the other person connected to his or her feminine energy. Yeah.
Yes.
And in intimacy, when one partner's masculine energy is brought near the other partner's feminine energy, an attractive force of sexual polarity pulls them together. But when both of their masculine energies are brought together, for instance, their attractive passion is neutralized.
Yeah.
They're like buddies.
Yeah.
You know? And or they may even feel like repelled. And let me tell you about, because people can like not know what actual feminine energy or masculine energy is in Tantra.
And often it gets confused, doesn't it? We think it's male and female, and you know, you need a man and a woman, or if they're a homosexual couple, then one has to behave more like a man and one has to behave more like a, you know, there's a lot of confusion around that. Yeah, exactly.
It can also change like from one day to another, you know,
and from what you're doing, right?
Exactly.
You know, if you're doing one thing, you need a certain energy for that, and
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, because like the qualities of feminine energy, they're feeling, emotions, connection with nature, flowing, yeah, everything, you know, this idea of, you know, sensuality, flowing, openness. Feminine energy is wild, is radiant, it's life force, yeah. And the masculine energy is presence, is quiet observation, let's say, but is also goal-oriented, directiveness, focused, you know, self-disciplined, etc. Yeah. So as a person, a man or a woman, you have both these energies. Yeah? So, for example, when you finish your masculine work day, as you said, it depends on what you're doing. You know, you're at work, so you're focused, you're goal-oriented, yeah. And then you get home and relax in your feminine energy. Yeah? Like feel the life flow in your body. You want a glass of wine, you want a delicious meal, it feels good to get a massage, you know, you enjoy bodily sensations, for example. Yeah? Then you're in your feminine energy, or you take a walk in nature. Yeah? And whenever you're in these kinds of moments, you know, whenever you're connected to your senses, when you're in the flow of the natural elements, when you're really aware of your physical surroundings and your body is in rhythm with the, you know, forces of nature, then you're in your feminine energy. On the other hand, you know, you go to you're on the way to a business meeting, or like just now we were going to have this chat. So you're in your masculine energy, you know, where's my checklist? What do I have to do? Do I have this? Did I remember that? What are the main points I'm going to talk about? Will I be successful? Okay, let's go. You know, that's, wow, the direction is this.
Which is what I think I said to you just as I pressed play, record.
Exactly. Yeah. So during all that time, you are in your masculine energy. And then if at that point, someone comes up to you and says, can we have a chat? And you'll say, of course, not now. Can't you see I'm busy? Can't you see I'm not focused? I'm not let's say not open to a chat. So.
And you can
that's
see then,
important. Sorry,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but just to see how challenging that can be from a couple's point of view. You're probably going to talk about this, but that challenge then, if you don't switch off at the appropriate time from one energy and switch on the other one. Why so many couples get in trouble, because a lot of women these days we spend a lot of time in our masculine energy and forgetting to switch that off at the times when we need to, in order to meet that masculine energy. And the same for men sometimes too, if they're in a particular feminine energy, perhaps in their work. Not all men are in a driven kind of work environment, but if they have a different kind of job that requires that sort of masculine, feminine flow, remembering to switch that off and turn it back on.
Yes, exactly. It's very important to work on this masculine and feminine energy in yourself as well, and being able to work on it, like with your partner, to have moments where us women are in our feminine energy, where the husband or a partner can, like relax in your energy, or the other way around. Like sometimes it's a woman that comes home from work and needs just a hug, or like to be to just be loved, just feel the openness, because if both partners get into their masculine energy, they can be good team.
Yes.
Yeah, they can work very well together maybe, but they won't have this attraction anymore. Yeah. So very frequently it happens, that in long-term relationships, people lose their sexual polarity, over time, which is also a very natural way of growing old. Let's say sex becomes less important, and this polar, this attraction becomes less important, and that's in a way healthy and good, although because they still love each other very much and so on, and so some of this decrease is normal, but sometimes it does feel like a problem. We love our partner, but we're not sexually attracted to him or her anymore, and it feels like the sexual part of our relationship is just over, and we have to accept this. And
or in some cases, like what I've heard, where people think that because the sexual desire is gone, that therefore must mean I don't love my partner anymore.
Yeah.
Which I've heard, which is really sad to hear, because you and I know that's not true, but it can feel like that. If that desire has been the thing that kept you to that started your relationship, that you met, that made that when that attraction means love for you, and that's the only thing that means love, then it's when that disappears, like, well, maybe I don't love them anymore, and that doubt starts to set in. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it's just a matter of, as I said before, like, just look at this. Am I maybe too much in my masculine energy? Am I maybe also for men, maybe he's too much in his feminine energy and needs to, get more of a grip on himself and get direction, and so it's important to just have a look at this and try to magnify your natural polarity. Okay, and play with it, of course. Yeah. Look at both polarities in yourself and see, oh, now I'm masculine, now I'm feminine, and play with it, and play with your partner in this as well, you know. Yeah. Oh, a very good book to read about on this topic. This is where I get most of this information from. Is the book by David Deida. It's called Intimate Communion. So I can absolutely recommend this for to people to read it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll pop that in the chat.
Yeah, good.
Intimate
Communion.
Yeah.
By David Deida.
I'll pop that in the Facebook group too, so people can see that. Great, thank you. So people can read a little bit more about it and learn to understand it. Fantastic.
Exactly.
So Sandra, in the work that I do, trust is often missing in relationships, and I'm very clear that intimacy requires trust, and if there is no trust, intimacy is almost impossible to have. And you mentioned before about how over time in relationships we start to criticize, and I would also add in there's things like stresses that happen, of course, because life is stressful, and often partners start to withdraw emotionally from each other. They have communication issues, perhaps fights that they have that are continuous that they can't seem to resolve, or that we start to feel not important to our partners anymore because other things get in the way, kids, work, finances, all the jobs there are, and the kind of relationship or the partner often gets left to last on the list, and we feel unseen and unheard and misunderstood, and that feeling like your partner doesn't have your back, and those things, and even infidelity in cases as well, obviously, is an obvious one where there's a break of trust. But all these other little things are really big. And that makes intimacy incredibly difficult, if not impossible. Can you tell us a little bit more about what your clients experience with you and how you can help bring back intimacy and trust, or anything that you want to say about that kind of area around trust and intimacy?
Yes, of course. The first thing that comes up is like recover quality time with your partner. Recover playing.
Go on dates.
Yeah, go on dates. Like reserve spaces in your agenda, in your diary, right? In your
yeah, that's right.
Diary for your partner. That's really important, and find ways to enjoy being together. Yeah, and there's something that I'd like to propose to couples, which is a very powerful technique, and it's called the Wheel of Consent, developed by Betty Martin. And that works wonders. It's like, on the one hand, it's like a game, and on the other hand, it's actually a game where you learn something about yourself and your partner. Yeah. So, maybe
share
exactly
the wheel that you sent me.
Exactly.
I'll just give
that
you
would
a
be.
second. I'll share that with everybody.
That would be perfect.
I think this is it. There we go.
So here you see these four areas. Yeah. So you have to see that, like, serving is the opposite of accepting. Yeah. And taking is the opposite of allowing. So the game would be to get into the serving role, and the other part and your partner into the accepting role. Yeah. So for example, imagine that I'm in the accepting role and you're in the serving role. Yeah. In that case, I will ask you to do certain things for me. Yeah. In couple situation, I would recommend something physical, something sexual, something doesn't have to be sexual, just intimate, you know, to like something to do with your body. Yeah. So, and the other person, the one in the accepting, in the, so me, yeah, let me say, I'm in the accepting role and you're in the serving role. So I will ask you to do certain things for me, yeah, and you have the option to say yes or no, yeah. And for example, I say, well, I'd love you to scratch my back, yeah, is that okay with you? Could you do that for me? And if you say yes, you'll start scratching my back. And then I can say, oh, could you do it a bit more softly, please? Or could you do it less with your nails, but more just with your fingertips, etc., etc. Yeah, I'll try to be as precise as possible when I ask you to do this. Yeah, and you always have the option to do it or not to do it. Yeah, and then, of course, imagine, you know, if you start doing this, the emotions that this can stir up, because we're not used to asking and being precise, and we're not used to being asked. So if I'm the person asking, or in the accepting role, I could have problems asking what I want. Actually, maybe I don't even know what I want because I'm disconnected from my body. Yeah, maybe I don't know what I actually like, or I have the feeling that I'm not deserving of asking things for myself, which happens a lot as well. Like, oh, I don't dare to ask, because imagine he doesn't want to do it, or she doesn't want to do it. Yeah, so then I'll be rejected, you know. So, and if you're in the serving role, you could feel, for example, that I'm too demanding, or you could have difficulties doing things that are asked of you. You know, you could, you know, touch with different types of emotions, or you could feel that I'm giving you orders, you know, even though I'm asking you in a way that, are you okay with that? You know, could you do that for me? But maybe you could feel like, oh, she's giving me orders, you know.
She's nagging me for something again that she wants, and I don't want to give it, or vice versa. You know, I don't want to have that be any kind of one role or the other. You know, so many times we hear that, I don't want to give that.
Exactly. And then it's and bringing this to the open, instead of like just not doing it or start changing the subject. In this game, it becomes clear that you don't want to do this. And how do you accept that if you're in the asking role? Yeah,
it's very powerful,
so
Sandra.
It's very powerful. Yeah. And then the other pair, because we don't have that much time, the other pair is about taking and allowing. Yeah. So if I'm taking, so I will say, for example, can I give you a hug? So I'm the person doing something, but I'm taking for myself.
Because you want the hug.
Because I want the hug. I want to give you a hug. Yeah. Okay. Or I feel like touching your hair, you know, but that's something that I want for myself. Yeah. And you can say, yes, I allow this, or I don't allow this. So you're the person allowing, which means that it's not something that maybe you would ask for yourself, but it's something you can say, oh yes, I don't mind giving this to the other person, yeah, or allowing this. And so be aware that if you're allowing, you're actually being the giver. And if you're taking, you're actually being the receiver. You see?
Yeah.
And I suppose you can see that there are often misunderstandings and confusion between whether a person is taking or whether a person is serving. You know?
Wow, that's so
you know,
powerful.
I've been touching your hair for half an hour, but I didn't ask for it.
Yes.
You know? Like maybe if I had asked for something, I would have asked to rub my back.
Yeah. It fits so beautifully, Sandra, that idea that we often, that when you talk about, a lot of people are familiar with the love languages, the 5 love languages. And I work with a model that's about 10 different love styles that we all have, and that we're always more comfortable kind of giving what we want to receive than we are giving what the other person actually wants. And we're often quite resistant. Someone says, well, I like, in the model of the 5 love languages, I like receiving gifts, so I'm going to give you gifts, and the other person goes, I don't want gifts, I want your attention. And so, but we're like, well, I don't want to give you attention, I want to give you a present. And vice versa, I don't want to give you a present, I want to give you, hugs. And that's what, often creates massive dramas for couples. I love this, and I love that people can play it as a game, so that it gets to experience it in a light way. I love games for couples. I think it's really important because it takes some of the intensity out and starts to bring some playfulness in, which is often missing in relationships after a long period of time, right?
Exactly.
We get into kind of routines of things, and boredom sets in, no matter what part of the relationship we're talking about.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that it's a game, and it's in a context of a game, with its rules.
Yes.
That if everyone respects these rules, then it's an amazing way to learn about what I really want for myself.
Yeah.
What I enjoy, what the other person enjoys, what our limits are.
Yes.
Yeah, you can also
say, learning to say no to stuff, right? That sometimes it's okay to say no. That's not,
Yeah, it gives a lot of clarity. Yeah, and it's a exactly, good training.
Yes.
Of course, you don't have to do this in your daily life. The best thing, what Betty Martin recommends in this technique, is that you do it actually in this game context. You don't start, of course, naturally it will become a part of you, but it's important to actually do it as a game.
Yes.
As a something, how do you say that in English? Enmarcado,
Yeah.
Frame.
It has a framework, or it's got a frame around it. Yeah.
And so if this is done with the respect that this exercise requires, then this can actually restore trust in the relationship.
Yeah.
Because I asked you this and you're giving it to me.
Yeah, because that's one of those trust things, right? That when you constantly ask for things and you never get that, that breaks a lot of trust for people. Yeah.
Or for example, when I did the exercise with my partner, what was also interesting to see is that what I was taking for myself was actually very pleasurable for him.
Interesting.
And it relaxed him as well, and for me too, and the other way around, because it relaxes when the other person takes things, he's taking for himself, and I'm enjoying it. So wow, you actually know that what he is doing to you and what you're enjoying is actually something that he's enjoying.
Beautiful.
So that was something that I found very interesting to see.
Wonderful. We're getting close to the end of time, but excuse me. The common complaint, I wanted to make sure that people get a chance to experience some of your examples of what they can actually do to be bringing connection. And there's a common complaint that I hear from couples is like one partner or both can't or don't feel like sex because of fatigue. You've talked about that a bit, external stressors, erectile dysfunction, which is seems to be becoming a more commonly known thing, whether it was experienced before and nobody talked about it, but certainly talked about a lot more now. We've got perimenopausal symptoms and so many other factors. It can mean that we feel rejected from each other and things kind of go downhill from then. And communication is important, but sometimes communication doesn't need words. I know you have lots of tips and techniques that you use and teach. And when we spoke last week, you described this amazing technique that doesn't involve penetration, but it's all about using that masculine, feminine, yin yang energy to create connection. Can you tell us about that technique, and perhaps another one that you have that helps people create connection in their relationship?
Yeah. Yes, one of a very good way to connect your bodies again is let's say when the man doesn't have an erection, for example, and you just let's say these are the legs, yeah, so you're face up next to each other, and the woman can put her legs, one leg on top of the other of the legs, yeah, and the other leg in between. So you end up being connected with your genitals, yeah. And then you take the tip of the penis and you put it in the entrance of your vagina, yeah. And then you just start breathing with, well, you can choose. I would recommend breathing through your mouth because it activates the energy more. But if that's uncomfortable for you, you can just breathe profoundly through your nose as well. And just let your bodies speak to each other. Yeah? And there's actually a electromagnetic field between your cervix and the tip of the penis, yeah, the gland. And so they, let's say, start like connecting to each other, yeah. And this could, in the beginning, be not so agreeable. You know, this happened to Tony and me when we did it for the first time. I was itchy all over because I felt like this electricity in my body, and I needed to scratch all over, you know, and I couldn't stand, you know. I had to pull away, you know, but just, that's okay. Pull away. If you're like, feel angry, just start stamping your feet on the floor, or take a cushion and start hitting it, or whatever, if that's what you feel like doing, because sometimes those are just emotions that come up and need to be released. And then when you've done that, go back. Yeah. And sometimes what you actually feel is that the vagina opens up and starts sucking in the penis. Yeah, so that can happen. Not always, but it can happen. And something else that happens is usually there is like a lot of energy created. And the man often doesn't know whether his penis is erect, whether he's inside or not. He just feels this, wow, this load of energy, and the woman as well. Yeah. So it's a very, very interesting technique that doesn't involve necessarily an erection. It doesn't involve that you need to be aroused before you start. You can just say, okay, let's connect and see what happens. You know, you can even fall asleep while you're doing it. It doesn't matter. You know, the point is to be together, to let your bodies speak to each other.
That's beautiful. I can't wait. You know, most of my clients know I give things called funties after every session, which is a fun activity because I don't like the word homework. And this sounds like a funty that might start appearing for some of my clients. I love this one. It's great.
Good. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then other things that I would suggest, of course, if there's a sexual dysfunction, like I would say, go to the doctor and see whether there's any physical issue, you know, but also contact a tantric expert, because the tantra has many techniques as well to help for certain dysfunctions. Yeah. And then other things is like, stop being intimate with a goal, the goal especially of having an orgasm. You know, that is usually the idea. What is sex? Well, you do certain things and then you have an orgasm and then it ends.
Or you fake one because you're too afraid to say that you couldn't have one. Yeah,
exactly. But that's usually the end. Yeah, that's okay. We've had an orgasm and that's it. And so the whole, all the actions before that have a goal. So what my suggestion would be is lose the goal. Just let your goal be, if there is any, being together.
Beautiful.
Just being intimate. And because like putting a goal in lovemaking is like putting stress. Yeah, it's often a source of stress, of tension. And so what I would suggest, one of the things I would suggest is like, why don't you just give each other a massage or caress each other or do this game that I explained before, and take into account like 4 keys that are tantric keys, let's say they call them. And the one is breathing. So try breathing through your mouth when you're making love or when you're caressing each other, like, because this activates your body and it'll activate your sexual energy. Yeah. You know, it's like, also another thing is be present. Yeah. Be present with your where the hands of your lover go. Be present in the sensations of your body. And then another one is express whatever you're feeling. You know, whatever, with your voice, with your body, like, you know, allow yourself to stretch, to let the energy flow as well. Yeah. And another aspect is slowness. Like, try to be very slow. This helps to be present with each other. Yeah. Look each other in the eyes as well. You know, or close your eyes and only feel, or when you look at each other, that's also very powerful. Yeah, it can be very powerful.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's what I would recommend. Of course, there are other things. But
of course. Oh, Sandra, we could be I'd love to be talking to you for an entire week. Well, we do talk about this thing a lot, but I'd love to keep this conversation going. And I feel sure that we could easily fill up another 3 or 4 hours at least talking about this stuff. But we are short on time. So I would love if you could perhaps just tell us just briefly about some of the examples of what your clients have experienced through their work with you, both for themselves and their relationships, because sometimes you work with people individually, sometimes with couples. Can you tell us just a little bit about some of the things that people can experience when they're having tantric work with you?
Yeah, one of the things that people tell me the most is that they feel reconnected with their body. You know, the fact that it's a massage that touches the whole, every little part of your body. You know, at the end you feel like, wow, or this bit exists as well. This bit exists, you know, and also the fact that if you allow your genitals to be touched, the fact that they're touched in a very different way that they're normally being touched is also very special, you know, in a very relaxing way. You know, there's no you know, rushing, there's no friction, there's no, you know, so they can actually relax. And that's something that is a very important sensation for people. Yeah. Some people rediscover arousal. They have had a period, for example, of not feeling that aroused. And during this tantric massage, since it takes, you know, it's a long time, it gives the possibility to your body to actually get into the sexual energy, you know, to get into it's awakened bit by bit. You know? Something important as well is that like what I said before about the genitals being touched, you can discover that arousal doesn't necessarily mean tension. You know, sometimes, often when we have sex, at the moment that we start feeling the arousal, we get tense. We're like, oh, we start moving our body, and we want, you know, there's this urge, and that is something that in tantric massage doesn't count. What I always say is like, there's no goal to achieve there. Just relax in this pleasure that you're feeling. Yeah, and this feeling aroused doesn't mean being tense. Yeah. Something else that tantric massage can originate, can cause, is more vitality. Yeah, you can feel, wow, the energy flowing through your body. Yeah. So it can help people overcome depressive states. Yeah, I had a person as well who came to me because he was in mourning because his mother died. And so he said he had already experienced this kind of massage. And he said, I need endorphins. I need to feel alive again, need connection to life. And that can help, you know, like, or people that after a breakup, for example, like I had a woman coming to me. She had a breakup a couple of months before, and she needed to feel her own sexuality again, you know, on her own. It also can give deep relaxation, so it can partly help with insomnia, and also the pleasure factor is very important as well. It may not seem so important, but for many people, they are always in their duty, what I have to do, what I need to do, and don't allow themselves to enjoy, like giving themselves this present of 2-3 hours of just feeling pleasure can be really, really wonderful and healing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, if people can't see themselves in that, I'm sure there's well, you know, I think everybody can find themselves in that list at certain points in time, and it's beautiful to know that so much is possible out of what you do, and I imagine it's incredibly rewarding for you as well.
It is.
Yeah. And so on that note, for anyone who's interested in working with you, obviously you live in Barcelona. So Catalonia people are the only ones that are, or anyone visiting Barcelona are the only ones that are likely to experience the wonder of your amazing hands. Perhaps can you tell us, you know, what it is that you do offer? And I can put up your contact details as well. Okay. And then you do have a special deal, I think, for people in Catalonia too.
Exactly. So for everyone who registered on the site, on the website, or in the Facebook group as well, I can offer them a free consultation. So that could be a phone call or an online consultation in which I can help people decide whether a tantric massage is a good idea, is appropriate, or whether I can help them with anything else, like giving them maybe more techniques or more help for their particular situation. And for people that are here, I'm prepared to give them instead a massage, a tantric massage, for 100 euros instead of 120 euros.
Great.
So a discount of 20 euros.
Perfect.
What do you think?
And after hearing you today, I can't imagine there's anyone who lives anywhere in the vicinity of you that wouldn't be interested in what you have to offer. And as I said, I can highly recommend the massages. They're absolutely beautiful and amazing, and to experience that kind of being in the moment and as you said, experiencing every single inch of my body that was so electric after I left. And it took me quite some hours to sort of settle after the massage that I had with you. Yeah, it's a beautiful experience for sure. And you're certainly in very, very safe hands and loving hands with Sandra. So
thank you so much, Sharlene.
You're welcome. Thank you
lot.
so much for being here. I know it's now 12 o'clock. I said from 11 till 12, but I wondered if we could just see if there's any questions that anybody has for those that have joined us today. Is there anyone that has any questions that they would like to ask? We don't have very many people in the room with us. I know there are quite a few people that registered that couldn't actually be here, and we'll get the replay. So if there's anyone that has any questions, please feel free to just unmute yourself and ask your question of Sandra or myself if you have anything. It's always interesting. I find this too, Sandra, with my my Facebook group. When you start talking about relationships and sex and intimacy, I know so many people have so many burning things to ask, but sometimes it can feel very vulnerable to step out and ask a question, as if we're kind of showing the world our only secrets. But what I've really loved about our conversations, we've done some other workshops together, and what I really love about working with you is how you make this topic somehow feel so easy to talk about. And I know that we didn't have time today. I wanted to ask you to share about your toys, because you've used some toys and I know that people are like, what? You just are so relaxed and comfortable with this whole topic, and the idea of the rest of us are all red-faced and struggling to cope with the emotional experience. And we've had some people going, Liliana Marie, thank you so much for joining us. But I really want to just honor you, Sandra, for bringing this topic out, for being willing to talk about it, for being so relaxed about it. Because I like you, I'm so passionate that this becomes something that we stop making taboo, because it's so important. So
yeah, it's something that you mentioned before, like the having your bits touched, and I think it's so important to just see our bits as any other part of the body. It's like, it's so it's so beautiful if you can give the same attention to your nose or your shoulder or your hand as we usually give in sex to the genitals. Like it works both ways. Like, don't put all the attention on the genitals, because our body is like a whole. Our skin is the biggest organ of our body,
Yes.
So and it's something that you can learn. Some people are more sensitive than others, but even people that are not so sensitive in their body, they can learn how to become more sensitive. And it's such a source of pleasure, the whole skin, So.
And which is, why when I know that you once said to me when we first met that penetration isn't the only kind of sex.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
starting to expand our definition of what sex and intimacy really, really means. Because as you said, even just being present in a moment with someone is an intimate moment. Even if you're not even, looking at each other specifically, you can be present with each other. And once we start to expand this definition of what sex and intimacy really means, we have so many more options for experiencing the joy, the energy, the connection, the trust, all of those things that are so crucial to our very life force, really. So beautiful.
Absolutely.
Sandra, thank you so much for being here with us. I feel certain we're going to get requests for you to come back. But I really, really appreciate your love, your commitment, your incredible skill, and Thank you for sharing yourself with the world.
Thank you so much, Sharlene.
Thank you,
Big hug.
everyone. Big hug to you too.
Thank you.
And thank
Bye-bye.
you for being here. Live in love.